Ileso sikhathi mbukeli lapho phela sifika sinezindaba ezinifundisa kabanzi ngamalungelo enu eyakajala intokazi ithi nje molweni sanibonani Dumelang, and thank you so much for joining us here on Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. We're live on SABC1 Mzansi for sure. Now, paying off a home loan over 20 to 30 years is what many consumers usually opt for. All this to try and enjoy the lower repayments, the extra cash in the pocket, and of course, no pressure to settle. But the downside is that by the time ukhokhela leyo mali, you would have paid about 3 times the original loan amount. Namuhla kohlelweni mbukeli sibheka izindlela phela ongakhokhela indlu yakho masinyane uphinde futhi wonge eningi imali ngaloku. Njengenjalo ungasithinta ku 0117146918 or 7146919 consume@sabc.co.za is our email. Sikhona futhi on social media and SMSs. Okwamanje asingene eshiqe udabeni lwethu la namhlanje. Njobe sengishilo mbukela ukhokhela umuzi uqede ngokusheshsha isifiso sabathengi abaningi, kodwa ke esikhathini esiningi isimo sezimali isona esiphoqa ukuthi umuntu athenge umuzi ngesikweletu esingathatha futhi naso iminyaka neminyaka ukuthi uqede ukusikhokhela. Ekugcineni umuntu uyithola futhi esekhokhe imali ephindaphindiwe. Ake sizwe ke ukuthi yini mhlambe wena ongayenza ukuthi uqede ukukhokhela imali imboleko ngokusheshsha uphinde futhi wonge imali.
Kukho inkolelo ethi ukuthenga indlu sisona sigqibo sinqenqeza phambili xa kuthelekiswa izinto ezibalulekileyo umuntu anokutyala imali kuzo. Uba nendawo yokufihla inhloko nebhaliswe ngawe akuzisi uchulumanco kuphela, koko kunika isidima nebango kwinto yangenisela imali yokugqibeleni, property investment ngolwasemzini. Kodwa oko akwenzeki lula. Indlu ifuna imali yolonto uninzi uncamela ebhankini. La maziko ahlale kunceda abo bafuna ukuboleka imali encane okanye intwenka i-home loan ngolwasemzini. Into ethandwa ngababoleki yokuba umuntu uniwe ixesha elide lokuhlawula elo tyala athi aligqibe. Ngelo xesha akaziva ephansi koxinzelelo, izavenge ziphansi kwaye nengqondo ibethwa ngumoya. Ngubani yonokukhalala inyhweba enjalo? Abakhimkhanya neengcali zoqoqosho bathi baninzi abantu ababethwa ngemfiphindiwe ile nkqubo. Bathi xa uthatha ixesha elide ubhatala uphulukana nemali eninzi ngenxa yenzala. Kulo mzekelo jonga kwindawo ebomvu, umuntu ohlala ityala lendlu ye-1 million yeerandi kuthi kuphela iminyaka elishumi abe sehlalwe inzala kuphela ye-985,819 yamawaka eerandi. Iingcali zithi ikhona enye indlela umuntu anokuyisebenzisa ukuphepha loo ntlawulo ingako. Ingaba loo ndlela iqulathe ntoni? Kuvuyisile mdoda, Yilungelo Lakho.
Short and sweet. Sibonge kakhulu kwinsizwa uvuyisile mdoda ngalo mbiko. Let's now extend a very warm welcome to our guest this afternoon. We have insizwa kuphela namhlanje studio nginaye uNthatho Raboshaka yena kofundisa ngokuphathwa kwezimali. Siphinde futhi sibingelele naye ubhuti Elias Shamatla niyamaziki isishoshovi samalungelo abathengi ubuya eMerafi Consulting, and in the center, who am I to introduce him? It's only Gerald Mandiambira. Niyazi ke uchwepheshe ngezimali. Gentlemen, what a pleasure. Good afternoon.
Always a pleasure. Good afternoon.
Ninjani? Niyaphila. All right, maybe because asimazi uNthatho, Gerald wena siyakwazi nobhuti Elias. Nthatho sichazele kabanzi ukuthi wena emsebenzini wakhe emkhakheni owenzayo wenzani insizwa kahle kahle lapha eWealth Creation Network?
I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Wealth Creation Network. Basically, Wealth Creation Network is a property crowdfunding group. So that's where we come together, we invest in multiple properties, and we try to create wealth and for generations to come. It's not just about us. So whatever properties that we're buying, we ensure that we have shares, and those shares you can actually pass on to your kids and your great-grandchildren. That's what we're trying to push.
All right, so gentlemen, sibonile insights lapha. Gerald, I'm sure when you are sitting in your seat, you were actually just saying this, abantu basakhokhela ama-bond for 20 to 30 years. They shouldn't be doing that. What do you think about the insert?
Look, I think we need to go back to basics. The business of the bank. A bank lends money, and home loans are probably the most profitable side of the business because they're what they call on-balance sheet assets. All the houses in South Africa, they don't belong to anyone
Lutho.
else except the banks
Siqashile.
until you finish paying it off. So for them, they're very lucrative. It's a very secure investment. You can't run away and steal a house, and when you don't pay, they take it back and sell it to someone else. So it's very profitable. And I think the real challenge is that many people, when they take out the home loan, no one sits down to explain the actual numbers behind you purchasing a home.
Yeah.
As much as you are given the opportunity to pay it over 20, 25, or even 30 years, it's an option. You can pay off your home sooner. And that's the discussion we'd like to start to encourage people to have, to say, how can I pay off my home sooner? Unfortunately, the bank is not going to tell you how to pay your home off sooner because they don't want you to pay it off sooner.
Yeah,
As you explained, a house for 600,000 at 12% interest, you know, you're basically paying a bond of about 6,300. At the end of it all, you've paid the bank 1.8 million.
Jeez, that's
1.8 million, but how much did you borrow? 600,000.
Yeah.
And of that 1.8 million, 1.2 million is pure interest. So you've got a situation where they don't want you to pay it off sooner. If you stick to the 20 years, they're happy. But we need to start thinking smart in terms of understanding these numbers, that on that same bond, if I pay an extra 1,000 rand through the term of the bond, I cut my bond by 127 months. 127 months
that's
is
a significant
10 years.
Yeah, that's a significant
That's 10 years
amount
gone.
of time.
You cut 600,000 of interest, and suddenly you can be in a situation in 10 years to buy another home. And that's what wealth creation is about. We need to start realizing that just because they said you can pay over 20 years doesn't mean pay over 20 years. It means if things are hard, pay it over 20 years. If things are good, pay it over 8, pay it over 6, pay it over 7. It's all possible, but it's all about the commitment and discipline in terms of you understanding how much you're giving the bank if you stick to the original term.
But Elias, I mean, Uti Gerald, let's start thinking smart and ask the relevant questions. Messi, ukuyothatha ama loans, ama ezindlu, izinto ezifana nezindlu. Sishintsha kanjani ke ingqondo thina njengabantu abamnyama ukuthi sisebenzele towards ukuthi sibuze le umbuzo sibeke in a position whereby information it's volunteer to us because bazi ukuthi sinayo.
Krimelana le ntate Gerald for everything I will. The problem is when you buy a house, you don't go to the seller, you go to the estate agent. The estate agent is going to hand over the documentation to the mortgage originator who is going to apply for a bond for you. So by the minute you move into your own house, after it has been registered, you have never set a foot in the bank. So who do you expect to coach you or train you on these things?
Okay.
No one. So now.
So usisenza ama face to face when I put Elias.
So the thing is that if you walk into a bank, right, you can be able to talk to a consultant and say, all right, currently I'm earning 15,000 rand. If you hold 15,000 rand and I have to pay the bond of 500,000 over 20 years, how much am I going to pay? You're going to pay most probably 5,100 rand. But or if I get another job and I get extra 2,000 rand and I put 1,000 rand onto this bond, as he has said, o cut 5 years on that bond. And then how add more or cut that bond into 10 years. But just that, I told you this information from our banks. Instead, if the bank realizes that you've got more money, but or it's a revolving loan, but or it's a credit card, but or it's a overdraft. So you get trapped in debt instead of building wealth.
Look, Nthato, why do you think there isn't so much education around ilokhuzana, the factors that determine a home loan repayment structure? Is it because of us ukuthi si lazy, we don't read much, or it's the onus of the bank?
I think the problem here is that consumers don't educate themselves mostly. And also the concept of instant gratification and delayed gratitude. I just started to work now, ngifuna 3 series, I want all those things. But then you forget that these are long-term loans that you are taking out. And the biggest issue here is that when it comes to loans, whether it being a bond or an unsecured loan, we go for the maximum amount. The bank says you qualify for 1.8 million. You want to buy a house of 1.8 million. But when it comes to repayments, they say for 1.8 million rand bond, you must pay 18,000 minimum. Then you decide to pay the minimum amount. So that's the issue here. Why are you going for the maximum debt and the minimum repayment? You should make it the other way around. Go for the minimum debt that you can make and then do a maximum repayment. You will then understand that the issue of compound interest compound interest, Einstein said, it's the eighth wonder of the world. Those who don't understand it, pay it. And those who understand it are the ones who earn it. And that's the biggest issue here, is that when you get a bond and they say your interest is maybe prime rate, 10.25%.
Yeah.
Over 20 years, your interest is not 10.25. For a bond of 1 million, you're going to pay back around 2.5 million. Where's 10.25% there? It's not, because of compound interest. Understand how interest works. It's important to educate ourselves.
You know, Gerald, let's talk about that. And I mean, is it then advisable? I think we had you on a show this one time, and you said it's very important to keep up with your loans and revisit your creditors and say to them, listen, I've come into a certain amount of money. Can I please now pay off this and this? But are they willing to even listen to Mautilalela Sengzon Samba? Because eventually they're losing.
Well, look, I mean, I've dealt with a lot of people, and getting a bank to settle a home loan when you come into a lump sum, they make it hard. It's not easy because they're interested in waiting 20 years.
Yes.
So anything which goes outside that agenda, it's not in their business. It's not in their business plan. So we need to know that. Another thing which was spoken about here is about the fact that interest rates change.
Yes.
So when they tell you, you know what, that Alicia, you qualify for 600,000. They're telling you you're only worth 600,000. We won't give you 600,000 in R1. You're not worth it. You can't afford it. So you should be insulted, firstly, because they're telling you that's all you can afford.
Yeah.
Secondly, when are you going to go? I'm going to take it all, because they said I can have it.
Yes.
But you don't factor in things like municipality rates. You don't factor things like electricity. So when you borrow and you get that house, you're 600,000, 12%, you're paying 6.3. There's another 2,000 for services, which is going to come through. Yep. There's maintenance. You are now staying in the suburbs. Maybe the taxi doesn't come to your corner. You now need a car. So we don't think about all these things.
Yeah.
We just rush into getting the home. So often they say, if they give you 600,000, borrow only 70%. Why? Because that extra 30% is interest rates being able to go up, and you can afford it over time. So we need to sit down with someone. The house is the biggest financial decision you make, yet it's the one decision you don't want to talk to a financial planner. Yet most people want to go to talk to a financial planner about a life policy. No, talk to a planner about your house, because that's the bigger investment.
Okay, we're sitting down with you, Gerald, and we're going to continue with more of Lama Pointers after the break. Mbukeli mangabe wena ucabanga ukuthi uthenge indlu and bakutshela ukuthi uzokhokha ibond over 20 to 30 years. Sifuna ukunikeza indlela la ungakhona ukuthi mangabe khona ukhence olungenayo esayidini ukwazi phela ukuthi usheshe uhambe uyokhokhela leyo bond. Asibambe lapho sithi nje shwi ngaseyitolo ungayindawo. Bukele, welcome back mama. Uqeda ungena endlini ubheka ilungelo lakho la kumamba phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure ngu Alishwa Kajali. Ngihleli nezinsizwa iphelele la sidinga idaba lokuthi Mbukeli ungenza njani ukuthi wena ukwazi ukuthi ukhokhele iloan yakho yendlu before leso sikhathi sika 20 noma 30 years. Ngihleli lana no Gerald noNthato no Bud Elias basinikeza ama tips ukuthi singenzani. Elias, wathula kangaka nsizwa usichazele kunento abayibiza i-voluntary overpayment versus arranged overpayment. Awusichazela ukuthi mhlambe sikhuluma ngani mesisho lawo magama amabili.
Okay, what happens Corey? Angire onale your monthly installment.
Yeah.
On your 500,000 bond, you have got your 5,000 rand installment,
yeah,
right? And then when now you voluntarily pay extra 1,000 rand.
Okay.
And then this money is going to lie in advance, right?
Yeah,
Your let's pay langir.
Yeah.
And then you have got what is called arranged installment, whereby you are saying, okay, even though I've paid upfront, I want you to recapitalize my capital.
Yeah.
So in other words, they take that money that you have paid in advance and capitalize it into your bond,
yeah,
and that is going to reduce the term of the bond.
Okay, and
Yes.
then Tato, then which one is more feasible? Is it the voluntary overpayment versus the arranged overpayment?
Well, the arranged works well in terms of the finances, because
And
as
do banks allow that? Are they willing to sit down and engage with you? Because we are sure Gerald ukuthi once ufika uthi bafethu nansi imali isivelile, they're going to try and put you in more debt.
I guess what you need to understand is your relationship with the bank. Most people think the bank is their friend. The bank is your lender. They're giving you money because obviously you bought a house, which is an asset. So if you don't pay up, they will then attach it and take it. So they've lended you money to just have that asset for 20 years. Once you pay it, that's when you'll get the title deed, just to talk about that. So most people think they own houses and they don't own anything. You haven't even seen the title deed because it's not your house. You have a bond registered on that house. It's the bank's house. So what you need to do is you call the bank and you notify them that I have to pay 5,000 a month. I'm saying I will pay 6,000 a month, 1,000 extra, and you need to recapitalize that into my bond. They will then do it because it is an instruction that you give to them. If you have issues, call again, find another agent, but make sure that it happens.
But of course, Gerald, this is not for everyone. Not everybody has that extra cash ukuthi akhokhe amalokhuza nama overpayments, whether voluntary or arranged.
Look, yes, the arranged one is obviously the better option because you're reducing the term of your loan.
And also, I'm sure you determine the amount, the extra amount that you're going to pay.
But the voluntary one is useful because if life happens, that money is
And
still
life
there.
happens.
And life happens, it's still there. You can still access it. You know, it will service your bond, and it won't affect many things. Because with an arranged one, if you skip 3 payments on the arranged one, you've missed 3 payments.
True.
Whereas on the voluntary one, if you've put 3 payments aside, the 3 payments are still there, so you can access that money. So it's about sitting down with somebody who understands and who can assist you in terms of making the right decision. And I think, look, the banks will assist you as far as they can, but you are the one who is actually responsible for the home loan servicing and looking after it. So I think we need to just understand that, because often the bank will also come to you. Let's say you've done 15 years. And you've got 5 to go, you can smell the end of the house being paid off. They'll come to you and say, we'll give you 200,000 to do home renovations, or we'll convert your home loan to an access bond. Now, an access bond basically means that all the money you've put into your bond suddenly becomes available. So you've paid 400,000 and 200 to go, and they say, you know what, because you've been good at paying for 15 years, the 400,000 you paid, you can access it, you can use it for home renovations. But what they're actually doing is getting you to go backwards. Because by utilizing 200,000 of that access bond, you're actually borrowing another 600,000 because of the interest rates and the compounding. So we need to just be smart about it. Let's realize debt is a tool. So you need debt. There's no one who can say, look, I'll buy everything cash in life. No. But it's about using it to your advantage when it's working, and when it's at your disadvantage, making sure that it doesn't get the most out of you. The thing about it, most of us take one bond and we forget. Because when you took your 600,000, Alicia, you were at your weakest and most vulnerable. You were... You just started work, you weren't credit worthy. Now you are now credit worthy 5-6 years down the road. Shop around. Get another bank to take over your loan. Banks can do that. The same way they say, bring X bank's credit card, I will consolidate.
Let's talk about
they,
that.
They
how does that happen, Gerald? If you're shopping around for another bank to take over your loan, maybe to reduce your monthly installment or even your interest?
Because another bank may see you as a better investment in terms of you've proven to this bank you can pay, so you're not a high risk, and they're still charging you the interest rate of when you were a high risk, but now you're a low risk, you're married, you've got children, you're not going in with that house, the children need it. So that's why they look at all those things. So you're less of a risk, so you can actually lower your interest rate by shopping around and replacing your mortgage lender with another one, because they now look at you and say, okay, she's a mother, she's got 3 children, the risk of default is much lower, because she needs to house her children and she's married, so maybe the husband can help you and bless you and look after you. So these things matter. But if you take a home loan and stay at the same rate for 20 years, you're paying the rate at when you are highest risk to the bank for the whole period. Because from the day you start paying it, you're becoming a lower risk to the bank, because firstly, you're showing that you can pay, and secondly, life is happening, you're becoming more responsible. So those are the things we need to consider. Probably in every 5 years, shop around. See if another bank will take your home loan, because banks have also got different strategies. At different points, different banks want to take over another bank's loan. So you might be one of those who benefits, because a 1% reduction in your interest on a 1 million rand home loan is 1,000 rand off your bond. It's a lot of money.
And then, Elias, but it sounds like the odds are actually stacked against the consumer, Lana, because whether you voluntarily know ukuthi kuzikhona lezi zinto ezenzekayo, ushilo Gerald ukuthi even if you go and represent to the bank ukuthi I now have more money in my pocket, can I please settle this? Bazokunikeza a hard time. How do you then navigate around the red tape?
Well, I wanna Usis Alicia, the only thing that you can do is to go to their own website, they've got a financial calculator there,
Yeah.
the home loans calculator. You put your amounts there, you play around with the figures, and then it will tell you how much you're going to pay for this amount. And then you go there and say, I want to restructure my account as this.
Okay.
But let me tell you where the risk is.
Ikuphi risk baba?
They're going to give you a letter.
Ethini.
Your home loan has been reduced from 20 years to 15 years or to 10 years. You're going to pay X amount per month at this interest rate. If you get that letter, please go and buy a frame it and put it on the wall.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen 10 years later, they're going to tell you that you have got balloon payment.
Okay.
You have got multiple cases like that.
Okay.
Because the systems cannot restructure.
Okay.
The bank systems cannot restructure. And in South Africa, we do not have a benchmark system from NCR or from the government to compare whether what the bank is telling you is correct.
Okay.
So at the moment, we have got a lot of cases like that. And the only thing that they will do is to push you to the ombudsman. And we tell the consumers, you don't go to the ombudsman because the ombudsman is going to agree with the bank.
Yes, yes.
Push them to court. Because in court, they have to explain this. And
But wait, yazi but Elias ngifuna uchaze lokho. Let me quickly take usis Regina from Pretoria, then you can continue with that. That is very interesting. Sis Regina sekwamukela Ntokazi ohleleni umbuzo noma umbono. Sis Regina, ngicela uthulise ingane bo asikuzwa. Sis Regina iyakhala ingane uyangizwa? Hi, kunjani?
Alright, Sintani.
Ngiyaphila Ntokazi, uyishayelani ingane asikuzwa ngisho ukuzwe emoyeni uthini?
Ingane ikhala ngiphone.
Khuluma ke Ntokazi singakusiza kanjani?
Okay, like that you could ne?
Yeah.
We just had a conversation like this with my sister over the weekend. So my question is it not too late for us to pay the bond, like to arrange with the bank and pay a little bit more into the mortgage bond loan?
Okay. Sis Regina, how long have you had loan yakho?
For 5 years now.
For 5 years, okay. And then bank you want to know ukuthi usengakhona ukuthi uhambe uyocela ukuthi ba restructure ama payments wena. Okay, Ntokazi. All right, Ntokazi. Wenze njani unemali enye engenayo noma khona imali isamba semali esingenile la nifuna ukuthi nitshale khona endlini?
Come again?
Ngisho ukuthi imali le oyitholile lesamba semali ositholile isamba semali noma mhlambe khona umsebenzi owenzayo ukuthi le mali izoloku iqhubeka ifika.
The thing is, we didn't know that we can pay more.
Okay.
Like hence, maybe the bond is 5,000.
Okay.
We pay actually 7,000. So when you go arrange at the bank to pay
Okay.
at least 7,000 instead of 5,000 that we are paying.
Okay, Sis Regina, lalela ke lapho Ntokazi insizwe nje zizokunikeza impendulo kulo mbuzo wakho Nthatho.
I'd say just before I answer her, I would go on the point of getting another bank to
Yeah.
take over your home loan.
Yeah.
There are costs involved,
Okay.
and you should know about them. These
How
are what
bad
you-
are these costs Nthatho?
It's bond registration costs. So when you start taking that bond, initially when you bought the house, you paid two types of costs. There were transfer fees
Yes.
and there were bond registration
Yes.
fees. Like I said, the house does not belong to you. It belongs to the
To the
bank.
bank, yeah.
So every time you lend money for this house, a bond is registered against your name and that house. So if I move from bank A to B, then bank B, I will have to pay the bond registration fees again, which are around 4% of the value of the house. So
Okay.
when you do those calculations, ensure that you take that into account, because if the other bank gives me 0.25% interest less, and I have to pay 30,000 upfront for these bond registration fees, I'm not really saving. So
not
ensure that you
saving.
look at it in a holistic approach.
Okay.
And on the matter of our caller right now, most of people do not know that they can pay extra. They think I'm forced to pay this 5,000 and there's
No,
nothing I can
sure,
do.
yeah.
Exactly. So you can pay extra at any given time within that 20-year period. And remember, the first 5 to 7 years, unfortunately, you were paying interest. You paid nothing on that house. The capital that you paid is less than 5%.
Isayimele
Yeah,
nje.
if you can decide now that I want to sell my house, you'll realize that the money that I brought is almost close to what I'm getting for this house.
Yeah.
So meaning you were a glorified renter for 7 years. These things you must take into account, and it's important to have knowledge of them. There are people like us, people like Gerald. We are here for you. We'll give you the knowledge.
But Elias, listening to ukuthi usisutini with what you were saying earlier on ukuthi kunamacala where ama-bank akafuni ukuthi alokhuza restructure ama-payments. Okay, we'll get into it shortly after this break. Mbukeli, asiphinde futhi sithi shelele ngaseyitola. We'll be taking your call 011-714-6918, 714-6919. consumer@sabc.co.za is our email. Ungasithola futhi kwi-SMS nakhona lapha ku-Facebook and Twitter. We're back shortly after this. Mbukeli ngihleli nezinsizwa iphelele ngisho uNthathu but Elias Shamatla uGerald Mwandiyambera sikhuluma ngokuthi wena ungenza kanjani ukuthi uthathe phela imali uyoyifaka kuleyo bond lebekuthi uzoyikhokha over 20 to 30 years ukuthi wena mhlambe uyikhokhe within 10 ngoba ucabangela ukuthi yazi nasi isamba semali othi ngiyeke ukuthi ngihlale ngine extra 1000 rand othi kuyiwa kamama banibani naseyadini ekupheleni kwenyanga. So you take that money and you invest it. Ungasithinta 011-714-6918, alternatively 714-6919 ukuthi siza ukuthi uthini wena. Elias, before siye khefini sizwe, we were having like serious problems with the fact that ama-bank azobuya 10 years later bazokutshela ukuthi yeah fine you got a restructuring later but 10 years later that thing is not into effect, you still liable for 300,000 rand. Kwenzeka kanjani? How do you deal then with these cases?
The system couldn't restructure the
No,
account
sakuyona
as you've
inkinga yami
agreed.
if i-system ingakhona ukuthi update ama-details mina ngine-agreement ne-bank angithi.
Yes, and then they say sorry, it's a system fault. However, you are still liable for 300,000. We have got a consumer here who is an engineer. This guy went to do his master's in university, and then he said, okay, when I finish my master's, my bond will be paid off. Therefore, I can resign and open a business as a consultant because I don't owe anybody anything.
Yeah.
I only owe the municipality,
Yeah.
which I can take care of. After he has done that, he requested the title deed. They said to him, sorry, you owe us 300,000. And then they said to him, go to the ombudsman. I said to him, if you go to the ombudsman is going to say it was a system error, therefore you must pay. You understand? So in the case like this, we said, let's go to court. And we pushed the bank. We said, okay, he stops paying here, sue him, go to court.
Yeah.
They instructed their attorney to go to court to issue summons.
I-processing
And then the attorney, when we gave him the evidence, we gave him the letter, he said, I can't go to court with this. Bank, sorry, you have to write off. It's your fault.
Yes.
There are many of those cases.
No, man, Gerald, what do you think about this? Is scary.
It's quite scary, but I think it points to what we're talking about, that the system was never designed for you to pay before 20
True,
years.
true.
So it's an anomaly when you pay before or you pay extra. Most people religiously are working away the 20, 25, 30-year bonds without putting a cent extra. So I think there's a bit of consumer activism which is needed to reform and restructure the system. But I think it goes and also says, you know, there's other home ownership models which are around. You don't always have to buy a house through a bank. You can buy land and build as you go along. You know, I think we need to get out of this instant gratification of I want it now. You know, I know people who've bought big land. They start off with a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom cottage and they build their mansion over time. And it's okay. In less than 10 years, 5, 6 years, they've got their houses fully paid up. There's no drama of interest and banks, etc. And I think we need to start looking at this crowdfunding model. There's nothing wrong with going for alternative ways of owning a home. I think we've put ourselves so much under pressure by saying we have to go with the system we are given. And I think we need to start thinking outside the box in terms of us South Africans, especially black South Africans, to realize that this system was not necessarily designed for us.
Let's find new ways.
Let's find new ways of ownership. Ama Stokvel are buying properties and they are basically doing it for their members. There's different ways to skin a cat. And we need to start accepting that we can do it. We have the minds, we have the intelligence. We just need to also start trusting ourselves and believing in ourselves. Because at the end of the day, if we keep allowing ourselves to be victims of systems, the systems will continue to win. And in the rest of Africa, there's no bonds, Sisi. Go outside South Africa, I'll tell you what is a bond. Tina, we
Bazobuza
build
ukuthi
our
what's that?
houses, we own our houses. We've got different systems of achieving the same means. So we need to start exploring those systems. I know the financial services industry won't like that,
Yeah.
but that's the truth. If they're not giving us what we want, let's make what we want.
You know, mina ngiyakhe ekhaya njengomakhe, I know exactly what goes into the process of actually waiting a longer period to get the things that you need. And you find that over time, isn't it, they get cheaper. It's not the market price that you're getting at. So you are able to save, isn't it, laphayana. And Thato, I understand you have a graphic, but I know for a fact ukuthi it's not very clear. So we're going to put it up there, but I'm going to ask that you take us through that graphic. Nansen says,
Let's see.
Sibuka nisibheka lana.
Okay, this is a rather different one, but it's still fine. So basically, this is a person who took up a bond for 1 million rands.
Yeah.
And they say they're going to pay it over 20 years.
Yeah.
So the interest rate here is prime rate 10.25, and your monthly repayment is 9,885.
Yeah.
What's important to note before we get into detail here, when you take up a bond with a bank, you say I want a bond of 1 million rands, they add 6,000 of the bank initiation fee.
Okay.
So your house worth 1 million, you take up a bond of 1,006,000.
Okay.
So already you're taking a debt that is way more than the value of your house.
Yes.
On top of that, what we're saying here is that if you check in the first line, we're saying what's required to pay is 9,885. You don't pay anything extra. Your monthly payments remain the same. The total amount that you pay after 20 years is 2.4 million rands.
What?
From a million rands,
What?
2.4 million. And this is the
Wow.
amount that you'll be paying. However, what you're saying is if you pay 10% extra into your bond, irrespective of your interest rate, you'll be paying back in 13 years, actually. 13 years, just 10% extra. So an extra 988 rands, you pay off in 13 years. And what I usually say to people, if you can check here the last line,
Yeah.
it's 100% extra repayment. So what we're saying is, if the bank says you qualify for 1 million rands,
Yeah.
rather take up a house for 500,000 rands.
Then we
Because you know you can pay
coordinate
back 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
So instead of paying the 5,000, pay the 10,000. In 5 years, that house is yours.
That's a great idea.
Simple, straight to the
Ntando.
point.
Oh, wow.
Because this graphic is exactly explaining that your bond is, you can qualify for 10,000, take one for 5. Pay the 10 which you qualify for anyway.
Exactly.
You'll have a house in 5 years, which means that every 5 years you can have a house of similar value. And remember, the more you have in terms of assets in your name, the cheaper it becomes for you to borrow. We're talking prime rate here. So once the bank likes you because you own things, they like to give, banks give money to people with money or with things. Once you are in that position, they now will say to you, no, we'll give you prime less 2%, prime less 3%.
Bayigqokise, it looks like a Sunday meal.
So
Njan,
get
njan,
onto the home loan ladder. I know you want to stay in the suburbs and in that dream house. No, what he's saying is get that starter home.
Yeah.
Get the starter home, which you can comfortably afford.
Yes.
And then once it's there, then work to the next one. Because with my clients, I normally say, I want to talk to you if you're not going to leave a house for each of your children. Because if you don't leave a house for your child, they're going to work 20 years for a house. Now imagine if your children all have houses in their names, their life starts at a different level to someone who has to apply for a bond
That's
for the
true.
first time.
Very, very true. Okay, Mbugeli, let's take Angela all the way in East Rand. Angela, thank you so much for staying on the line. Umbuzo nomumbona Ntokazi.
Hi, how are you, ma'am?
Good, thanks. How are you, Angela?
Okay.
Yes.
Ma'am, I just have a question for the panel, ne?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Actually, 9 years back when I took a bond, actually, I think I was ignorant as well. I didn't have more information.
Yes.
So by then, because I was still fresh, they took my bond. It's over 30 years, ne?
Okay.
By then. So now it's 9 years down the line. So I was just asking whether is it possible, because now I'm earning more, is it possible to take a short term, is it advisable actually, to take a short term loan and pay all this bond? Because remember, this cars, sometimes we repay even over 5 years, because I've made my calculation. Whatever that is balance, I can manage to pay over 5 years. So is it advisable to do that with other banks, maybe to look for a loan and just,
All right. Okay. Very interesting question, Ma Angela. And I think I'm going to give each of our gentlemen a chance to address it. Just stay in front of your television set. We're going to take a quick ad break and after this with more answers. What am I saying? How you can actually restructure your bond payments nokuthi uzama ukuthi uyisavele imali kunokuthi uhlale ukhokhele ibond imali eyodwa interest for over 30 years, in which you end up paying more than i-amount le obuyibolekile ukuthi uyithenge indlu. Ngihleli neinsizwa Gerald Mwandiyambera, Elias Shamatla naye insizwa uNthato Raboshaga basitshela ukuthi wena what you can do in terms of restructuring that bond yakho ukwazi futhi ukuthi ube nemali esandleni. All right, sithathe uAngela East Rand before we went to the ad break. Uti, it's 9 years later. She wasn't fully informed when she took the bond, and she's thinking of taking a loan. And we all agreed Uguti a loan is not the right way to go. Gerald, let's start with you. What are you saying to Angela?
Look, she wants to get a personal loan to pay off her bond.
Yeah.
Bad idea. Personal loans are at a much higher interest rate than a mortgage bond. The lowest debt which you're currently paying in your investment portfolio will always be the bond, because it's a secured asset. The bank knows it's our house, so they don't mess around too much on interest rates.
Yeah.
Whereas a personal loan is unsecured lending. Often they're actually using the home which you are actually trying to pay off as security.
Yes.
So you want to, so you're saying I'm going to borrow 500,000 at 18, 19, 20% to pay off 500,000 at 9%. It doesn't make financial sense, but obviously she can sit down with somebody who can look at her overall portfolio and her cash flows, and then we can see. But on the face of it, it doesn't make sense as being a wise move, but unless there's other mitigating factors.
What can she do besides talk to Put Elias, as we mentioned earlier on?
No.
Well, I think, look, you can get that arranged increase in terms of reducing the term of your bond. Get it in writing. And yes, there are bodies such as the one which is headed by Bra Elias, where she can get assistance later on if she encounters any problems.
Put Elias?
Yeah, one other thing that I want to mention before I forget is that, remember, when you request the cancellation figures, if you want to settle your bond and you want to cancel that bond, which is a security, and you request your title deed, this is what they do. They say the property stands as a security, or the bond stands as a security for all the debts that you have with the bank.
Yeah.
So you'll be surprised when the attorney requests the cancellation figures, instead of saying zero balance, they say 200,000 because they included the credit card and the overdraft.
So automatically what they're doing what they call set off.
Yes.
Okay, setting off is basically, with all financial agreements with any financial institution, they can take the money from anywhere as long as they can see it on their system. So if you also want to be somebody who's wise in terms of your finances, try and spread your risk with different financial institutions. Although they try and say it's good to have your bond, credit card, everything with one bank, that's exactly what they'll do. The day you want to cancel your bond, they'll suddenly remind you, but Sisi, you've also got a credit card, so we can't cancel bonds yet until you've cancelled everything with us. So they're running a business, and I know that they're doing it for their shareholders, but you are a shareholder in your family. So
exactly.
you are the CEO of your family. So where possible, just like not putting all your eggs in one basket, spread the risk.
And Ntato was saying earlier, Ntato, there's a 90-day early fee charge if uzosettlisha any amount earlier. I mean, talk to us about that. That's 3 months worth of installments.
With the banks, if you have a bond and you just paid off without notifying them, they're going to charge you 3 months of your repayments. So if you are paying 10,000 a month, they're going to charge you an early settlement fee of 30,000. How you can go about it is 6 months before you paid off, call the bank and tell them, I am going to settle my account 6 months later, and then they cannot charge you that fee legally. However, coming to our caller, 30-year bond on its own, it's a disaster, it's a mess. Interest is calculated daily on your bond. So they calculate it daily, but for a period of 30 years. So what she can do, I'd say, just refinance to a 20-year bond and then pay extra into it. I also work as a wealth coach, so we can have a one-on-one after here. It's not a problem. But it can be done. But taking a loan A loan is unsecured debt. So that one, the interest rates can go up to 30% in other institutions. So it won't work. It's a very bad idea.
And based on your numbers earlier, you said
Yes.
600,000, 12% over 30 years.
Yes.
You're paying 4 times
Yeah.
the amount. If you are paying that same house over 20 years, you're paying 3 times. It's not that much good news.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
there's
a
a
30-year bond,
difference.
you're
Yeah.
buying your bank 4 houses.
Yeah.
A 20-year bond, you're buying them 3 houses. But the trick is, let's just buy 1 house because that's all we need.
And there isn't much difference.
All right.
in your
Okay,
payments.
gentlemen. Let me quickly take. I hope Angela, I hope ukuthi usizakele lapho Ntokazi, do not take that personal loan. Rather, uzama ukuthi ukhokhe off ibond yakho. Let me quickly take uDora eFree State. Sister, siyabonga ukuthi uhlalo line umbuzo noma umbono. Hi Dora.
Hi, Malaka.
Siyaphila unjani Ntokazi?
Good day. Must I speak English or I'm comfortable with my language?
No, go ahead in your language. Siyakuva.
Okay. Me, ha ke tsebe hore na re tla be ke le out of line kapa jwang.
O kana
We are
botsa ma-
willing to buy another house,
Yes.
but the thing is, my name is on the ITC, and my husband is, his name is right.
Okay.
So the thing is, ke worry to re ana nna lebitso la ka ha le tlo affecta credit ya hae na.
Do you have a lina li joint account mama wena li papa?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, all right mama. Kupa umamele more on your television. Angazi uthi yini TV ngesuthu. So we're going to come back after the break sikuphendule Mam Dora on that question of yours ukuthi wena if you have good credit, or in this case wena ungena credit right, your husband has good credit, Tato, you're supposed to be helping me here. Ngiyazama kodwa, but we're going to take that question, that answer shortly after this break. Ungayindawo mbukeli. Like I said, the ladies are calling today. It is just gentlemen in studio. Gentlemen, let's get straight into it. Udora, uti she's not, she doesn't have a good credit record, but the hubby, and you did say in Tatu Guti, we failed to ask Uguti, is she married in community of property now? But what would be the different scenarios either way?
If she's married in community of property, unfortunately, her husband is affected.
Okay.
So they share their credit score, they share everything. So when she takes up a bond and takes it up with him, her score is bad, they won't get the house, unfortunately. But then if they're not married in community of property, her husband can qualify. And even if she pays extra into it, to help him pay the bond, it's not an issue as long as they have a contract in place, because marriage does go sour, we understand. So have a contract in place to say that we are buying this house and he's adding me 50-50 on the house, but then he's the one who's getting a bond for it and I will assist him to buy it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's look at your tweets. We're going to look at your social media. Uvongani waka Matonzi uthi, I was on the process of applying for a bond, but after listening to this advice from your visitors there in your studio, I'd rather save more money to buy my own house. Thank you so much. But Elias, your parting words this afternoon.
Yeah, I would say to the consumers out there, rather buy the property that you can afford so that you can be able to pay it quicker. Don't pay it over 20 years or 30 years. Instead of buying expensive car, rather buy the basic car and pay off your house.
Gerald.
My advice is simply around also, the home is the biggest asset anyone ever buys in their lifetime. Make sure you sit with someone who knows their story. Get that financial planning professional, get that wealth coach, get somebody to talk about. Don't go and buy a house as though you're buying chewing gum. It's a house. It's the biggest single asset most people own in their lifetime.
Everything.
So
Educate
basically,
yourself.
treat your home purchase seriously. Don't just talk to an estate agent and the bank who are in it for the money. Get someone to give you real advice in terms of you getting out of that debt as quickly as possible.
And is there anything else you want to add in Tata before
my
Sam?
advice is that you don't necessarily need your own money to buy property. The government has what we call FLISP. Finance-linked individual subsidy program. So if you earn between 3,500 and 22,000, you qualify for a subsidy of up to 126,000 towards your bond. So you buy a house of around 240,000, they give you that 126,000. Instead of paying 2,400, you pay 1,200. So let the government pay the other half, you pay the half, you own the house in 5 years.
All right, thank you so much. That was Untato Raboshaha from Wealth Creation Network, Elias Shamatla Merafi Consulting, and Gerald Mwandiambira, a financial expert. Unazim Khotbom, before Sihambut, I don't know anything about it, so I so wish your show could be played when everyone is at home. Are you listening, TJ? When everyone is at home, let us be educated about home loan repayments. Siyabonga kakhulu Nazim Khotbom. Last but not least, Likapa Poloko says, thank you very much, Yilungelo, Lakho. What an informative and educational show about today's topic of home loans and repayments and how that actually works. Siyabonga kakhulu Mbukeli. Thank you, Ekhaya, for all your participation. Ama SMS wenu, imbuzo yenu, nasifonela e-studio. Thank you so much. We are back next week live with another live consumer affairs discussion. Khona la ku-SABC 1 eMzansi for sure. Ukhumbule impinde yohlelo lethu khona njalo ngoLesine futhi khona la ku-SABC 1 from 11 o'clock, I think, kuya ku-12 o'clock. I think I stand to be corrected there. Isikhathi sihlale sishintsha kodwa it's 11 to 12. From me uNtokazi yakajali u-Alisha Mangcolosi ngithi nje Mbukeli kuthiwa zifundiseni before uthenga into ezokubinda njengendlu. From us, bye-bye.